What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota and welcome back to Coda's Cologne. Today we're going to be looking at and reviewing Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Male Le Parfum. So with fall being right around the corner, with a lot of the transitions going on, I thought it would be fun to kind of start slowly transitioning to two more fall-based fragrances. And one of my personal favorite fall fragrances is going to be this one right here. So with that being said, let's get into it. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to do on this is what we always like to do, and that is going to be showing off and testing the atomizer. Now, Jean-Paul Gaultier, on a lot of his fragrances, use pressurized atomizers, so the atomizers on these are very good. They also all come with this little ring right here, but go ahead and get that. Yeah, so I love this fragrance. So the pressure on this atomizer is very, very good. It's not as good as, go ahead and put two big squirts on the arm there, but the atomizer compared to, say, other designer brands, this one is an above average atomizer to me. When you first spray this, you get such a dark, sweet scent. It is absolutely wonderful. Like I love this fragrance, especially right around the fall time. For me, the only real difference between, say, a fall and a winter fragrance is, to me, a lot of my winter fragrances, I want them to have like that extremely deep, dark, rich. I want that tobacco. I want, I want something like that. I want dark, thick scents. So, and what makes this a fall fragrance for me is this has some of that warmth, inviting kind of, a little bit of warm spicy, still a touch of fresh spicy. It's got some sweetness to it. It's got a little powderiness to it. It has some iris in here, so you get like a small touch of that lipsticky smell. And to me, that's some of the floral sweetness and warmth you get out of this is, to me, what makes this a fall fragrance. All right, so with that being said, my turntable finally came in. Well, it's not fixed. My turntable finally came in. I can throw this back on there, and we will get into the full note breakdown and bottle presentation. Just one moment. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and get into the top notes of this fragrance. So the top note on this is going to be cardamom. To me, that cardamom is what's going to give it a little bit of that aromatic, kind of fresh cleanness that you get. The cardamom does die away very quickly on this fragrance though. And that is going to get us into the middle notes of lavender and iris. You're going to get some of that lipstick smell out of that iris. Now the iris does linger a little bit on this one. It's been about 10 minutes since I sprayed it, and the iris is still there, and it's still very good. The lavender note, to me, is a little bit less powerful than the iris on this particular one. Still helps pull this fragrance together very well. And then, so whenever you finally get down to the dry down, the full dry down, you're gonna get the base notes of vanilla, oriental notes, and woodsy notes. So to touch back on some of those oriental notes, I want to say that when I was able to do some digging around, I want to say some of the oriental notes that they may be referring to are going to be different cinnamons and spices, but to me, that's what gives this fragrance. It's got a very warm feeling to it. It's got a warm spiciness to it. The vanilla pulls through very well. The vanilla is very sweet when you first spray it, but the way that this has been blended, the vanilla dries down through all three layers, and when it dries all the way down, this fragrance turns into a beautiful fragrance. All right, so now that we went over some of the notes, I'm gonna go ahead and get y'all flipped back around, and we'll be back in a minute. Alrighty, and we are back. And as I like to do, I gave it about 30 minutes or so, went ahead and let this start to dry down into some of the more long-term dry down. And the one thing to me that you get when it starts to change and develop into the long-term dry down is the vanilla starts to pull through very nicely. And this fragrance is a very sweet fragrance. But the way the sweetness is done on this, if you're someone that wants maybe a little more of a masculine sweetness, this one will probably check out the box for you. And in the long dry down, some of that iris has started to dial back a little bit. Some of the woody notes that they start coming through, but it's still just sweet enough. Some of that sweet kind of spicy mix that you get reminds me of fall. Like I said, on those winter fragrances, I want those deeper, darker. This is a very deep fragrance. It's a very warm fragrance. It's inviting. It just wants to pull you in and hold you close. Another thing that kind of started to shine through on some of the deeper dry down is some of the powderiness. And to me, there's different forms of a powdery fragrance. Like some of them kind of have like that baby powder kind of scent to it. Some of it has more of like a light, softer, aromatic, a little more not fresh necessarily, but light. It's just a lighter type of powder. And this has that, which is kind of contradictory to what I said earlier, but it's almost hard to explain without getting your nose on this one, because this is an inviting fragrance. It's a warm fragrance. It's a deep fragrance, but there's like a light airiness to it that puts a nice little twist on it. That warm sweetness just kind of sets right there in that line, and it works beautifully. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition into the pricing and availability portion of this. We'll start with availability on this one. You should be able to pretty well get this anywhere. All major retailers should have this. All smaller retailers should even have this. This is in discounters. Now, unfortunately, unlike the original Le Male EDT, some of the ones like Le Male in the Navy, the other one, Aviator, like the Aviator one, stuff like that, they're heavily discounted right now. I think I saw those on Joma's shop. I think you can get a tester for like 49 bucks, which is an amazing deal. This one, unfortunately, not so much there. So availability wise, all major discounters should have this. Unfortunately, kind of like some of the other brands I've mentioned, this one's not this particular fragrance is not heavily discounted. This one's 20-30 bucks off. You might be able to stack different like coupon codes and stuff and get it off cheaper than that, but just it's still there. And what that's going to do is that's going to segue into our pricing. So I'm going to start with retail pricing on this. The retail pricing on this one, this is the 125 ml bottle. The retail pricing on this one from most retailers, they're going to be somewhere in that 130 to 140 range. It's going to be somewhere floating in that area. I don't know that I'd go 140 on this particular one, especially knowing that I can get it cheaper somewhere else, which is the unfortunate part about retail. But yeah, so discounter wise on this one, I think it was Joma's shop that when they do have the 125 mils in stock, is going to be somewhere in about the 100 to 110 range, which, about $34 off. Now the 75 ml bottle of this, you can find that one for roughly 70 bucks, give or take. And I'm not saying, and I'm not sponsored by Joma's shop. I just know for a lot of the fragrances that I tend to buy, a lot of the ones that I tend to like the most, Joma's shop tends to have most of them in stock, and most of them are at about the best prices for me. Fragrance Net there for a while, I was using them a lot. Unfortunately, a lot of their discount codes just haven't been working lately. I think they've kind of started to go in a different direction. I still use those, especially if I can't find a fragrance I'm looking for, and if they have it, stuff like that. The only real issue that I've ever had with Joma's shop is sometimes they don't keep everything completely in stock, and shipping can be slow sometimes. It's about 50-50. If they say they have it in stock, normally I get it in 3 or 4 days. If it says that there's a wait, there's definitely a wait. Sometimes it goes 2.5 weeks on that one. But anyway, so that is going to cover the pricing on this particular one. And in this fragrance right here, again, it is a wonderful fragrance. It is done up very well. It is blended very beautifully. And speaking of the blend of it, so now we are going to segue into the performance of this one. So the performance on this particular fragrance is very good. The sillage on this one is really, really good. To me, this is about a 5 to 7 spray. I do refresh this one about halfway through the day. And the sillage on this one, to me, is in the 4 to 5 foot range. The projection on this one is in the 2 to 3 foot range. The breakdown on this fragrance, the way that it projects off my skin is very good. So to me, this one you can probably get somewhere in the 7 to 9 hour range with 5 to 7 sprays. Like I said, as everybody knows, if you watch this channel long enough, I layer my fragrance on top of itself. To me, it helps give it more projection. It helps give it more sillage. To me, it helps bring the fragrance even more life. And to me, this fragrance on me is about a 7 to 9 hour fragrance. Now, if you're going outside, if you're going into a big crowded area and you're just kind of if you're wanting to see if this will pull a compliment for you, which the compliment factor is there on this one. Whenever I wear this one, I do tend to get compliments. For me, if you are going to say like a mall, if you were going anywhere outside, anything like that, you might be able to pump this between 7 to 10 sprays. And then on that point, you're going to reach that all day longevity on this. You're going to reach that all day, just beastly projection, wonderful sillage, whenever you walk into wherever you go, they're gonna know you were there. So yeah, I think that's gonna be my wrap up for this one on Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Le Parfum. This is a Parfum concentration, and to me, I would recommend this fragrance to pretty much anyone. This is not a fragrance that you should shy away from. The notes of this fragrance, the way this fragrance is blended, everything about this screams anyone can wear this. And as I've said earlier in the video, to me, this is a fall, even wintertime fragrance. This is definitely a nighttime fragrance. I would have no problem wearing this as a date fragrance. And me personally, if I was going to rate this fragrance, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. I absolutely love this fragrance. I feel it was blended beautifully. I like the presentation. The atomizer is good. The longevity is there. The performance is there. So yeah, that is going to wrap up today's video. Go ahead and get in on this bottle one more time. That way y'all kind of get a good view out of that. That is going to wrap it up for me today. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.